Okay, so I am going to talk to you guys of another way you can kind of set up and layer materials without really needing to go into like a texture painting program. Maybe if your team has like a library of tileable materials that you want to be able to reuse, possibly. I am going to show you a way it's called layered materials. So, what it is I'm going to create a special type of material function that you can use to sample the textures and then apply a blend to them using a special type of map known as a mask ID. So let me hop into the textures folder. I have this little dumpster. It's a custom mesh dumpster that I've made beforehand. Um, Naturally, the mesh itself is not set up to handle tileable materials. If you guys want to do something like this, set your meshes up with custom vertex normals. Um, but that I mean, have smoothing groups and stuff set up where certain areas have hard edges, certain areas have soft edges. This guy's all soft edges because it's going to be baked down inside of like Substance Painter. But if you guys would be handling something like that, that's what you would do for these. So I have this, and then I have this other map. It's called a mask ID. It's normally when you use it, like say in Substance Painter or Substance Designer, there'll be a ton more colors than just the red, blue, and green. But Unreal Engine doesn't have that type of capabilities to handle special colors like that. It's only really good when it comes to handling R, G, and B. That's it. So I just have it set up to have some simple groups. The main is this big red area, which is going to be for the metal paint that's going to be on the base of the dumpster. The green is going to be for the rubber used for the tires as well as the lids. And then the blue is going to be used for the metal parts. So I have a couple textures that I've already brought in. I brought in a rubber texture, which is gray. Same thing with my painted metal. And then the same with my where is it at actually? I don't think it might have gotten deleted. But anyways, let's see. It's not here. Didn't just like accidentally spell it. Nope, there it is. Yeah, aluminum. Sorry, I just couldn't find it. Or aluminium. Sorry, I'm American. You couldn't tell? So I have my three textures set up. What we're gonna do now is let's go into our materials folder and let's create a material function. The function. We're gonna call this one material layer underscore MF. So what we need now is we need to set it up so that it can sample three different textures. The textures, of course, would be the albedo, the normal, and the ORM map. So first, let's bring in some inputs. So function input. We are looking for texture 2D input. So first one will be our ALB for albedo. Our second one will be our N for our normal map. And then third will be for our ORM. And then actually let me add one more. So this one will be our albedo. Actually, let me just call it down as tint, but it will be our albedo tint because I've already set up all the textures so that they are kind of more of a grayish white. That way I can apply any color without having any issues. And then besides having that one, let me go here and add a spot for our UVs. It'll be a vector 2. So we have 5 inputs. You're going to start to wonder, how am I going to get all of these inputs now to this one output? Well, first, you can't just apply these normal 2D objects. They're going to be texture objects. They don't have a texture sample input in a sense to them. So what we need to do is we need to go in here. We need to add a texture sample. We don't need any parameters on this one. Just We need 3 of them. So what we'll do is we start to plug in these, which are going to be our actual like albedo or a normal map, and we're going to functionally put them into this, the texture. So we're going to have a texture object from when we start a material. We're going to plug it in to one of these slots, and it's going to drive that information into a texture sample, which we're also going to get UVs from and apply them here and here and here. Now let me start to plug in these guys. And then I'm going to add a multiplier so that I can multiply our albedo tint. And then now we're going to come to another problem. We now have 3 inputs and we have 1 output. How do you suppose we do that? Well, that's actually very easy. We have this special node known as a make material attribute. So if you guys ever used Substance Designer before, and in Substance Designer, you have the similar nodes where you have like single slots, like for RG and B and stuff, or like single outputs for like albedo, roughness, mellowness, all those things. If you can switch between those types of slotting with 1 and 3 inside of Substance Designer, and what it does is it swaps between single outputs and then material outputs. So in this case, we're taking all of this information and we're going to start applying them to where they would be as a material. Which actually, let me go back in here and I got to make sure I update our sampler types for these guys because they're not going to be just like the albedo color and stuff. So we're going to have our roughness and then our metallic. And then we're going to have single outputs. And then we're going to have all of these problems because we don't have what we need to have in here. Because this is one of those types of material functions that requires a preview sample. So let me start bringing in some texture objects. We have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have a vector 3. We'll set that as 1, 1, 1. Let me change this to our linear color. Let me set this guy up to normal, not alpha, sorry. And then I'm just going to do a simple, actually, no, we'll just do a texture coordinate. There we go. And then we're still having a problem because it needs to have actually something in here. So I'm just going to throw in our base textures that we already have. So base in, our base ORM. Again, like I said, having base textures will save you more in the long run by helping on the overhead of handling things. Instead of having like a 4K texture that's being referenced every time you create one of these things, it just uses a very, very simple low resolution texture. So now we have our new material function. Let's go back and we're going to create a new master material now. And this one's going to be called prop underscore layered and then underscore and matte. And then I'm going to right click, create an instance for it. And then what we're going to do next is, let me find our instance. I'm going to call this one dumpster. Oh, dumpster underscore IMAT. So let's go into our layered material now. And let's call our function. And then let's choose our layered material function. Boom, there we go. Actually, let me go in here and let me change some of our sorting priorities. Yeah, we don't want to go and have a bunch of like random slots here and there. I want it to be all set up nice and organized like this. So now what we're going to do is let's start bringing in some of these things that we want. So let me go and go to our textures. Let's bring in this guy. And then let's start by, I'm going to create, because you're going to need or texture objects for this. So I'm just going to do a texture object parameter. And I'm going to make a bunch of them. We have 3 right here. And then let me just change some things. So this one will be our layer 01 albedo. And then we're going to make a group for it for layer 01. And then he's already set to color, but I will set him to base albedo. And he'll be layer 01 normal. He'll be set to layer 1. He will be set to normal. And then he'll be set to our base normal. Same thing for him, layer 01 ORM. I'll be set to layer 1, linear color, and then set to base albedo. Let's copy, paste, and paste. And then let me just rename a few things. So he's going to be layer 2. We're going to set a layer 2 for him. Then let's go here and create our layer 3. Oh, hit 2, not 3. Flip of the thumbs. Okay, so now let's get this last one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this guy to a parameter. And this one's just going to be called our mask ID. And then let me throw in a texture coordinates, multiply, new parameter for him for our UVs. Oh, I also forgot. I got to set a function for these guys too. We're going to default them to white. And then let's convert all of them to parameters. This will be layer 01, albedo, tint. It's a mouthful. Let's select all that. Let's do layer 02. And then he's in layer 2. Then layer 3. Set to layer 3. Now let's adjust some space for them. Okie dokie. Now we have our mask ID. We'll just put him back here. And now let's start plugging some things in. So he's going to be in our albedo. He's going to be the tint. He's going to be our normal map, our ORM, and then our UVs. And this is going to be layer 1. We're going to need one for our layer 2. And our layer 3. and then our UVs. So now we come to another little crossroads. So we have our three layers set up. How do you suppose we actually blend them all together? Well, you can't just do a lerp or a multiplier because that's going to be only for vector 3 values. This is a lot of textures. It needs a special material type of blend. So we type in here mat no material layer blend. So we have a ton of these little material layer blends, which they're also material functions, but these are built inside of Unreal Engine. You can actually go right here to standard. Simple one. It acts just like a lerp would, so it just needs alpha information. So right now we're gonna do layer one's gonna be for our main dumpster material. So we're gonna do our red channel. So the top material is gonna be white and the black base material is gonna be black. So he will be our top material, and then this is gonna be our rubber. And then let's go and copy and paste. Now this time we need our blue channel because we already have the green channel kind of taken care of. So he's going to be our base and then he is going to be our top. So now we have our materials all blended together, but we have a ton of these. It's kind of like the inverse of what we were having a problem with inside of the material function we made. And actually, it's easier than you think. So here, if you go down to our material settings, you can use this option right here, use material attributes. And what this does is it turns all those individual slots into just one material slot. And then you just plug him in, you hit apply, and there you go. Now let's go here. Let's go to our materials and let's go find our dumpster. Let's just drag and drop him in. As of right now, he doesn't look, like a dumpster just yet. But let's start plugging in our materials. Let's do our kind of a green. Oh, I see some of these ones got all thrown to layer 3. So let me go back in and let me fix some things. He's in layer 1, not layer 3. He's in layer 2. He's in layer 3. Layer 2. Layer 3. I wonder how that came to be. Layer 3, layer 3, layer 3, and layer 3. Perfect. Save. Okay. So layer 3 is going to be kind of more like a kind of that kind of metal. This is going to be our rubber, and rubber kind of has more like it's a bluish tone, but it's like a very kind of almost dark enough blue like that. So let's start going in here, and I've already added in our textures. So let's do painted metal, albedo. Actually, it's not painted. This one's going to be rubber. Rubber ORM. And then lastly, our aluminum. Aluminum. Okay. Now let's minus that. And boom, we have our material. I mean, let me just adjust one last thing. Let's do tile by 3 so I can change our texture size a bit. And boom, there we go. You basically have a very simple dumpster. And of course, like if you want to, you can just duplicate this instance, change the color blue, and then you have a giant recycling bin. But that is kind of how you would make a kind of layered material inside of a material function. But also, it's a little bit more talking about a little more in depth on creating your own type of little filters here and there with material functions. Again, like I've said before, it's just like when you create your own filters and tools and stuff inside of Substance Designer, Substance Painter.